everybody. Happy Friday. Oh my goodness. Look at you, honey. Look at you. You're so beautiful. Hi. Yeah. Hi. You're like, oh, look at the tail. She has decided once again to lay directly in front of the camera. We love to see it, folks. How is everyone doing? Ooh, I've got beef fajitas and white rice to munch on. What's good? I don't normally have food on stream. I was trying to eat dinner before stream started, and I have some like vegan bao buns. And they're pretty good. They like weirdly remind me of sloppy joes. I don't know, like flavor wise. Not sure that's how they're supposed to taste. I don't have bao buns regularly enough to be able to know, so I also technically have a snack. Ooh, buffalo chicken. Ooh, buffalo chicken mashed potato dinner. I don't know why that just made me think of buffalo mashed potatoes, as though that's a thing that people make. But I'm into that idea. That's like exactly that is food that is 100% for me, absolutely. Alrighty, so I'm going to tweet out that we are live here, and then we will go ahead and get into it. It has been a beautiful day here. It was 80 degrees on Thursday. It was not as nice outside today. It was pretty nice. It was like 75. 80 degrees is like my perfect weather, so it was a little like slightly colder than I like, just by a hair. And now it's like all stormy outside. Like I don't know if it's actually going to be like properly stormy, but it's definitely going to be colder this weekend. So unfortunately for us. Also, if you hear any banging sounds or weirdness, one of my neighbors is moving, and their technique for moving appears to be throwing things into a bed of a truck. So if there's ever any like sudden loud noises on the stream, it's probably my neighbors doing something, just FYI. Ooh, very fancy. Side salad, almonds, dried cranberries, barbecue ribs. Hell yeah. I love that we were having like an incidental collective mukbang here. It's 3 a.m. in Poland. No wonder it's my first time when joining a live. I have been watching you for 3 years now. Oh, well, welcome. Glad you could make it. Hope things are going well for you. Now is a great time to ask some questions. If for the last 3 years you've had any burning questions you'd like to have answered, now is the perfect time to get into it. Oh yeah, rain and cloudy weather. Yep. We're at that time of year where here it'll like rapidly oscillate between like dreary 55 degrees overcast, and then like 2 days later it'll be 85 degrees and sunny. So like who knows what's gonna happen, honestly. Alrighty, so if you are new here, hi, hello, welcome. My name is Evie Lupine, and every week here on this channel on Fridays, we do a little interactive Q&A, and I usually put in some suggestions in the title. So for today, I thought we could follow up on some conversations we've been having about neurodivergence and ADHD in the BDSM community, and polyamory and dating and power exchange and BDSM very broadly. Those are obviously just suggestions. You guys can ask about whatever y'all want to ask about, and I am happy to respond. It could be like personal stuff. It could be like my opinion about things. Generally speaking, I don't get into politics or medical advice. Those are sort of my two boundaries for conversations I don't have, because I'm not a doctor, and if you want to talk about politics, there's about 18 different channels you can go watch that are probably live right now. So this is just a little safe space from that in a way, but we do obviously talk about sometimes like pop culture things that are happening on the internet, because for some reason in the last 10 years, BDSM has become like a much bigger overlap with pop culture and mainstream news stuff, whether it be people starting rumors that the former Prime Minister of the UK is in a collared power exchange relationship, or some celebrity going out in public and talking about doing bloodplay. Like, it just happens. So sometimes we talk about it, but that's about as far as we go in that particular direction. But it's more or less whatever y'all want to talk about. We also have my cute doggo here as a co-host. Her name is Bandita. She's a 13-year-old Pomeranian. And right now, she is sleepy. random question for the chat, in case anyone happens to know. How do you know if your dog has allergies? I think she might have allergies this year, which is not typical, but she's been like, I don't know. I feel like she's not telepathically communicating with me, but she looks at me sometimes with this vibe, like, my nose is stuffy and I need help breathing. And I could just tell by the way she's like holding up her nose that she's like trying to get more air in. And then I'll turn my air purifier onto a higher level and have it go really hardcore, and then she'll be better. But then if I turn it off for too long, then she seems to have trouble again. But she's so small. I'm like, what do I, like, I've heard of people giving like Benadryl to their dogs, but I'm like, she's 10 pounds. That's just normal. She just does that, by the way. That's not an allergy thing. We okay, honey? Hi. Yeah, we got some hunkies. Hi. Yeah. Sometimes we just do that. That's what happens sometimes. So, yes, that is out in that in case anyone happens to know. Obviously, I'm going to talk to my vet about it, but in case somebody's like, oh, here's like the kinds of things you need to ask your vet about, or this is what you should look into. It's always nice to know, because there's lots of things going on in the world. And also just in general, if you haven't been here before, some key things to know. This stream is 18 plus only. So if you are not at least 18, please do not be here. This is for your safety, my safety, everyone's safety, because mixing minors and adults and education about kink together in one space is a recipe for disaster. And I will not be doing that to myself or to any of you, because it is just dangerous. Also, read the rules down below. They're very, very simple, I promise. It's basically just respect me, respect the mods, respect people in the chat, don't spam the chat. I answer questions in the order they come in, so if you want to make sure I will answer your question, please do not ask it like 5 times in a row. We had a couple people do that last time, and it ruins the vibe. I'm not a streamer that has like 10,000 concurrent viewers. If you put something in the chat, I will more than likely see it. So please don't spam the chat. You can just ask it once, and then if I haven't gotten to it, ask again towards the end of the stream, like an hour later at least. If you put it like 5 times in a row, I'm not going to answer it, because either I or the mods will time you out and it'll remove your question. So just be polite, be nice. If you want to make sure I answer it right away, because you just have to have an answer right now, because you're like, wait, I have 2 minutes, Evie. What should I make for dinner? If you have a question like that, you can use a super chat, or you go to Streamlabs down below, and it'll highlight your question up here, or your statement, or whatever it is you want to share. And then I'll read it right away. And then super, super simple, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, all that good stuff. And that's more or less it. Obviously, I withhold the right to not answer any particular question if it's too personal, or if I just don't feel like it today. But that's pretty rare. I'm more or less an open book, and that's all y'all need to know. Oh, thank you, Sean. And this gives me a great segue. Thank you, Sean. So Sean has gifted us 10 memberships. Another thing that you can do that it's totally no obligation. Oh, I'm sorry, microphone. I'm sorry. My bad. Just gonna put that over here a little bit farther, away from my gesticulations. So we have the option to get a gifted membership if you would like, or you can buy your own membership. It is 99 cents. That is so you can get emotes in the chat. That is the only reason it exists, is either you want to support the channel on YouTube, and that's easy for you, or if you would like to, you get access to emotes, and you also get a very cute little Pomeranian badge next to your name. If you're a member for long enough, you might get a custom Bandita themed badge with a little crown on it. It's very cute. Just saying, there are things to look forward to if you're a member for long enough. But thank you all so much. And with that being said, we will get into some questions. Not a vet or a dog expert, but I would think you could use saline drops to help with your dog's allergies. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Interesting. Saline drops. Yes, we have some beautiful emotes. I just wanted to have emotes, and because Benditi the Queen is sleeping, I will use some of my favorite ones, which are really just the ones involving my dog. Like, I'm fine. My dog is great. It's the real reason to have any of this around. It's just to have emotes of my dog. It's fantastic. Actually, the emotes I've gotten have been very convenient, because I can use the really big ones as like reaction stuff. So if I'm doing a voiceover, if I've recorded a video and then I add like voice later when I'm editing the video, I can like use these images of myself that I had drawn to like sort of give a vibe to my voice and not have to be on camera at like 10 p.m. at night when I'm editing a video. It's fantastic. Oh, Lexi bought pants. Oh, got pants even. Feminine pants. Well, I hope that you can learn to enjoy them. Pants are a definitely different phenomenon. There are definitely feminine pants that exist, but if you've only worn skirts and dresses, I cannot even imagine sensation-wise what that would be like to go from not wearing pants at all for like a very long time to suddenly pants. Like, imagine if you went from like a skirt to like skinny jeans. Like, sensory nightmare for a lot of people, I am quite sure. Okay, so question here. I thought I was using bamboo for whipping, but it was river cane. Is that better than bamboo? What is river cane? River cane, what would that maybe be? Is that, okay, wait, let me go. Maybe this is like a different word in like another language for like the same thing. What is river cane giant cane. It says it's a species of bamboo. So I don't think, and it's a species of bamboo that's native to North America. I didn't even know we had anything like that. Apparently it's native to the southeastern US. It seems like it's a type of bamboo. If it has similar properties as other types of bamboo, I probably wouldn't recommend using it for caning or whipping or impact play, any kind of striking onto the skin, because bamboo has a tendency to shatter, and who wants splinter butt, right? Like, splinter butt is probably not in what most people would consider to be the constellation of possible fun scene outcomes. So I would not recommend playing with that. There are definitely other natural materials you can get for a similar effect that are not like designed by nature for caning, but just have like a little bit of a higher safety factor to them, let's say. So things like rattan are really popular. Classic canes are usually made from that. You can also get things made out of non-natural materials, so your Delrins, your acrylic, things like that. There's tons of options out there. You can even get canes made from metal as well. That's like definitely a different sensation profile there. My favorite canes, I like rattan, I like Delrin. I'm a thuddy impact play person. I prefer thuddy impact play 9 times out of 10. It is definitely not the sensation I go to, but when I do just straight up stingy impact play, if that is a sensation I want to be playing with, caning is really satisfying, especially when it's like laying flat down on the ground, because your butt muscles can be totally relaxed. Like if you're on a massage table or you're just laying like flat in your stomach being caned across both butt cheeks, there's something about that is satisfying in a challenging way, if that makes sense. But it's a very different experience. It's definitely like if you want to have a waterworks intense experience, it's more along those lines. So yes, in summary, I don't think it's better than bamboo because it seems to be a type of bamboo, and there are definitely better options out there. There are also worse options, but bamboo is, I'm not sure if it's, because I hear people gravitate towards that, but I'm not sure where people get the idea from, if it's like sold on Etsy for caning, if people just buy it because it's at like garden stores. I don't know. But generally speaking, the people I know that do caning don't recommend using that. And bamboo has a place in kink. Don't get me wrong. It's really great if you get like big pieces of bamboo. Fun for an accompaniment to bondage. If you like rope bondage, fun for that. Even a very like small, slim piece of bamboo can be fun as an impromptu bar gag. There are definitely ways to use it in kink. Striking someone on the skin is usually not one of them. Do you consider an evil stick to be a cane or not? Oh god, this feels like is a Pop-Tart a sandwich like kind of question. When I am saying like this is like, is a flogger a whip? Like technically I guess yes, but at least in American vernacular use, usually people, if they mean a whip, they mean a single tail. If people say flogger, they mean something with multiple falls on it that has a different action of being thrown than a whip does. But like I know in the UK and other parts of the world, maybe where English is a second language, people use whips as like a catch-all for every type of implement like that. And generally speaking, when I'm thinking of canes, I'm thinking of something that's a little bit longer. Like typically, like canes for caning are like quite long. I can't. I want to say they're usually at least like 28, 30 inches, somewhere in there. long enough to be able to strike like fully across like most people's backsides across both butt cheeks. Like they're pretty long. They're not necessarily very wide. Whereas an evil stick, like if a cane is like this, an evil stick is like this. Like it's a little tiny, very, very thin, whippy thing. And it's not, at least the ones I've interacted with, the ones I've seen are like more flexible. Like they're meant to be like bent back and like snapped at somebody. And I think they're a different material than most canes are made out of. It's certainly in that like family of impact play tools. Like it's not like, it's like, I don't know, is what the heck is that noise? Is it hailing outside? That was weird. Okay, I thought it was hailing for a moment. Maybe it was. It's sort of like saying, like, is a violin a cello? Well, like, they're in the same, like, family of instruments, but I wouldn't say a violin is a cello. Does that make sense? But I think you can kind of use them in a similar way. And certainly sensation-wise, they produce a similar enough effect, especially when you're using a really light cane. But, you know, that's my personal opinion. And also, I've seen Evil Stick. Like, there's not, like, a concrete way of making an evil stick. I've seen, like, 10 different designs of them, so it probably also depends on, like, the exact one you're looking at, too. I'm gonna have trouble pronouncing this. I'm gonna try, though. Ambiamorous, is that close? That's ambiamorous. I'm gonna stick with that one. Person who got out of a monogamous relationship. What do I need to do before getting into a polyamorous relationship? Okay, so ambiamorous basically means somebody who is, for all intents and purposes, like ambivalent between monogamy and polyamory and could potentially be happy in either form of relationship style. And I would say if you have not been in a polyamorous relationship before, what I think is really important to do, like even if you've like been poly before, maybe it's been a while, just like check in with yourself and really understand for yourself independently before you start dating, okay, what kind of style of polyamory am I looking for? What types of people am I looking to be in a relationship with? You know, is it going to be vanilla or kinky? Do you want to like be out in public together? Do you want to be involved with their families? Do you want your family to know about them? Are you looking for a situation where you can eventually join a commune and be like a big nested happy family together? Do you want to be more independent? Do you want to like be really close with your metamors? Do you want to be more independent? Like really think about what style or like styles of relationship would be the most appealing to you, what they look like, daily interaction, like are you a caller, are you a texter, do you want to be in contact every day, are you okay not talking for a couple of days, are you somebody where you want to like, you know, casually play games together, do you want to make sure that your time together is really focused, do you want to be in hobby groups together, do you want to be on the community together? So many factors to consider, but even if you can't put everything down on a list, because like I am very much a list person. So for me, it's easy to imagine myself sitting down and being like, I have a list of like the 10 things I want from a partner and it looks like this. But if you're not that person, valid, most people are not like me. But what you can do instead is you can just like have a picture in your mind of like, what is my, like if I made this into a movie, if I could have a snapshot, a still image from a movie of my life, what would that relationship look like? How would it feel? What kinds of people would be in it? And just have a really secure sense of what you want before you start looking. Because I think if you don't have that ahead of time, what ends up happening is you're way more likely to end up in relationships that you're not really happy with because it's like, the first thing that comes up on offer, or maybe you like one half of the couple, but they're unicorn hunters, and so like you're not really happy with that arrangement because it makes you feel weird, but like you're going along with it because like that's the relationship you're in. And I think just having a really secure sense of what you want just like helps you stay in yourself and not be distracted by what other people's needs are and like compromise on what your needs are. And then if you haven't done it before, I definitely recommend reading some of the more like modern relationship literature on polyamory. Like pretty much everybody recommends Polysecure is a really great one. I'll also recommend, and this is a weird one to recommend for somebody who's like new to getting into polyamory, but I do like the Polyamory Breakup book because it does talk about like polyamory and monogamy and monopoly relationships and like why polyamory doesn't work out for people. And I think having that in your back pocket when you're evaluating potential new relationships is helpful for understanding, okay, projecting out forward, are we compatible enough for this to be worth pursuing? Because, you know, for somebody like me, like, I'm already polyamorous, I already have other partners. If I meet somebody whose, like, style of polyamory is, like, not compatible with my other relationships, like, I'm not going to be able to date that person. But when you're starting from, like, the ground floor, what you're really doing when you choose your, like, first polyamorous partner, or, like, polycule to be a part of, like, that's sort of setting the stage for the shape your other relationships can take. Like, if you're dating somebody who's more like monogamish and they're okay with like going to sex parties or like hooking up together in like a triad or like as a couple with like another, like, you know, let's say you're a woman and they want to have sex with only with like another woman in the group, like if that's what you pick for your partner, then you're going to be really curtailed compared to maybe some other choices you could make. But yeah, that would more or less be my the place I would start from, at least, I think is a good place to go. But, you know, just, I think take your time. You don't have to rush. There's definitely lots of good places online for meeting polyamorous people. And like, I don't really, like, meet people at polyamorous meetup groups. I know other people do that, but it's not really, like, my thing. It's nothing against them. I just, like, because I'm kinky first and, like, polyamorous second. So for me, my priority of where I socialize is, like, in kinky spaces where there are just going to be at least a lot of polyamorous people. I don't know if I'd want to be around vanilla polyamorous people. It's easier to be around kinky monogamous people. I think vanilla polyamorous people might drive me crazy. I think they might drive me crazy, to be honest with you. Yeah, a monopoly relationship where you're both into flipping tables and capitalism is kink. Yeah, oh yeah, I was saying monopoly is in a relationship where one person is monogamous and one person is polyamorous. So, you know, you ideally, this is how it should work. You come together, you talk, you say, hey, I want to be polyamorous, I want to explore that. And they say, well, actually, I'm monogamous. And you say, would you be comfortable if I dated other people, had sex with other people besides you? And sometimes they might say yes and be okay with that. But the reason why that works, and what I think is great about what they discuss in the polyamory breakup book, is sort of understanding it on like this sort of like Keynesian scale of there's a range of preferences people have for monogamy versus polyamory. And some people are like hardcore, totally monogamous, married the first person they ever kissed, could never even think of anyone else as being sexually attractive in any way, all the way over to like polyamorous, could never settle down, has like a new boyfriend every week, like just poly through and through from day one, could never ever be monogamous. And there's a lot of space in the middle. And it's really hard to do monopoly if one's a 0 and one's a 10, but it's a lot more possible if somebody's like a 4 and a 6 or 2 5s, but like one of them just went one way and one went the other. If you're getting anywhere outside of the range of like 3 to 4 plus points away, it's just going to be increasingly harder for everyone to have the relationship needs met, which I think is what is worth focusing on. Is not like, are you doing it the right way or the wrong way? Like, which one is like the natural state for humans? Like, who cares? It's about finding what works for you and then finding people that are compatible enough with you. They don't have to be exactly the same, but enough to be on the same page to make sure that you can both get your needs met and like be happy in a relationship and not worry about wasting time, you know? Monopoly is, as a board game, very contentious. I like the game of life. I think that one's fun. I think that one's like easy to have fun with. I think Monopoly is gonna test your friendships. I don't know. This is one of the things that is random, but that I will look for in people that I am thinking about dating is how important are board games to you? Because there is a stereotype that polyamorous people love board games, and the reason why they're polyamorous, is because they're looking for more people to like fill out their board game group that'll like show up consistently. I don't like board games. I prefer to date people who don't like board games because why would I play a board game when I can listen to an audiobook and brush my dog or go for a walk outside? Why would I play a board game when I can be in a hot tub reading something? Why would I play board games when I can go on a hike? You know, like there's just, if I'm thinking of all the things I could do with my life and my time, board games exist in a space where they're only really fun when you're like in a cabin, snowed in, no internet, and like you're staying in a cabin where the owner of the cabin has like 20 old ass board games they've had since like the 90s, and you're like, oh wow, I haven't thought about that since my childhood. And then you play it and it's like cute and it's not serious. If you're doing an every week thing, Can't be me. So sorry. Glad for other people, not my thing. If your relationship has red flags, do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Are we at a point now where we can like have a polyamorous Monopoly board? Like, can we? Is it one of those things where we have to wait for a trademark to pass before we can like spoof on that way? Okay, fair point. Board games are nice for smoking and watching the sunset. If somebody did a cigar social where they were like, we're all going to be smoking cigars and having whiskey, and then we're going to play, like, I don't know, what do, like, old rich guys play? We're going to play backgammon. Is that a board game? Does backgammon count as a board game? If somebody's playing, like, chess or backgammon or dominoes even, I would allow that. That would be acceptable. A philosophical approach I've developed for life in general that helps me keep an open mind. First step to learning anything is admitting you don't know. Few things are impossible. Many are improbable. That's a good technique for life. I think that's a good thing. Something I think about like fairly often, but that I sort of remembered going to Kink Fest this year. Because every year I learn a lesson in some way, shape, or form. And this year I learned many lessons, one of which was, if you listen to enough different experts on a topic, you will hear different perspectives on like what is safe, what is good, what is worth talking about risk-wise. And it doesn't mean that either person is wrong or like has incorrect information. It's just that like different people come into kink with like different philosophies. Like as I actually have a Patreon video about like my experience at Kink Fest this year. And I remembered like thinking back on all the different classes I've taken on flogging. I have heard like 2 different experts who both have been in the kink community for 20 plus years, been doing flogging for just that long, and they will say literally the opposite thing as each other about like how to flog somebody properly, or how to clean a flogger, or how to store a flogger, and like what's okay and what's not, or what will damage your flogger, and like what to prioritize. And I just find it to be really fascinating. I don't know if I've ever actually played Uno before. I have like memories of it being around as a child. I don't know if I ever actually played Uno properly. I don't know what a 60s board game would look like. I don't know. I don't know if I've seen a 60s board game before. I'm into that. Maybe 60s board games are better. Oh yeah, I stream every week. Multiple times a week even. Stream on Twitch on Mondays. Fridays I stream here on YouTube, and on Tuesdays we have a Patreon stream where I react to content and talk about it, and sometimes I research stuff and scream into the microphone about how terrible life is. I don't normally do that part. Sometimes I scream into the microphone frustrated about a lawsuit or something. Okay, more questions. I'm learning how to unicycle. I ended up with some rather interesting bruises. My sir saw them and joked that he was clearly slacking since I had to go collect bruises somewhere else. That's funny. I like that. Ooh, sushi. Haven't I had sushi in a minute? It's going to be nice weather. I could go outside and get sushi somewhere. Thank you for all your knowledge. You helped me plan and organize and explore myself through kink and joining the kink community. So grateful. You are very welcome, Visa. Thank you, thank you. My freaking experiences with my ADHD partner is them getting distracted on Discord and procrastinating when we're supposed to be having a scene. Oh, that is, yep. Sounds, can't say that exact arrangement happens to me, but it does sound familiar to some other people's experience. You go, 5 more minutes, and then suddenly it's been 2 more hours. Yep. Ooh, hi Evie. Do you have any advice for not letting work interfere with your personal life when your job is talking about sex? Oh, so okay, this is like, I thought that was going to be like, how do I separate from my vanilla like work life and my kink life? The opposite direction of that. Any advice for not letting work interfere or their personal life when your job is talking about sex. I think the best thing that I found to do is I try to have a reasonable separation between my kink life and sex life, obviously, and what I talk about for work. Like, there are definitely people out there who like make content talking about their personal experiences in a really detailed way, like story times. And I generally don't do that. So I'm not making content that's talking about like, here's all the details of like a scene that I did, you know, here's all the information about my partners. And like, you know, way in the past, I had more content that was like that, where I had like partners on camera and like, you know, they helped me make content and it was much more like personally intertwined. Do that once, not doing it again. So I learned from that how to have more separation. And so I just came up with what I think is a reasonable boundary of like, you know, I'm okay like obliquely referencing stuff like, oh, like, you know, one time I did a scene that involved this element, or, you know, I have a partner who has ADHD, or like that, like keeping it really vague without giving a bunch of personal details, I find like works really well for me. And also like my partners will secretly, unbeknownst to anyone else in this chat, will pop into these streams occasionally and like watch for a little bit, just out of curiosity or like to support me. They'll pop in, they might say something, and they pop back out, which I think is cute. But that's about as much as anyone I date these days is ever involved in anything, and that's like about my comfort level with it, especially for something that's like public facing the way that YouTube is. And other than that, they just like, if they want to know something that's maybe they see that I like made a topic on a video, they ask me about it. Sometimes we have conversations about it, or I talk to them about something that I'm working on and I go, hey, I'm going to be talking about this thing. And they're like, oh, like, how's work going this week? And I'm like, well, see, the thing is that Neil Gaiman is suing one of his victims for $500,000, and then they go, oh boy, and then they get out the camping chair and they flick it like the guy in the GIF, and they sit down and they listen to me rant for a little bit, and then we move on, and they're okay with that. That's, you know, but that it's not like that's a, yeah. Does that make sense? Where that line is like, there's a little bit of information being shared, but it's not necessarily super personal. I'm not trying to make like content that's like focused on like the specifics of, you know, what I'm doing and where I'm going outside of like work specific things, like if I'm teaching at a conference or something. I don't know. We're all talking about Settlers of Catan now for some reason. It's another one that I've played like once or twice. See, the thing is that I have this crazy mod named Twixie. No, I don't think I've ever said anything like that before. Although, like, sometimes with like you know, regular chatters, I will like share. I will share stories about like kind of in the reverse direction of like, oh yeah, I know I've had a chatter who talked to me about that before. Blah blah blah. Like if somebody asked me like in my real life a question about like, I don't know, something about like trans women and kink or 1950s relationships or whatever, I'm like, oh yeah, somebody else told me about that. So it does kind of go like both ways a little bit in like a funny way. But yeah, it's interesting. Uh-oh, Lexi drunk on stream. Uh-oh, unsupervised. Oh no. Goodness. Okay. But yeah, no, I found a pretty good balance, I think, with those two things. Family's a different story. And also if I had a vanilla job, that would be different too. But yeah, that's most of my personal life stuff on a day-to-day basis is just like with, you know, partnerships and polyamory. It's the most that comes up maybe if it's like, you know, oh, are you okay? Like, you know, if I haven't met more or somebody I haven't met yet, you know, they might ask me like, oh, is it okay if I tell so-and-so about like what your work is? And I'm always like, yeah, that's fine. I do feel a little weird. Like I have like dated people before, though not recently, where they'll like figure out who I am and then like they'll watch a bunch of my content like before we even go on a date. And then I find out on the date that they watch a bunch of my content and it's like, ooh, no, I can see why you thought that was okay, but actually let's not do that. And then that's awkward. But with like metamorphs and stuff, it's like, well, if they want to look, they can. But, you know, it is actually nice to have people in my life who like are not chronically online, so they don't know. If I say a name, they're like, I don't know what any of that is. Even if it's like actual regular pop culture stuff, and I'm like, well, don't you know that Sabrina Carpenter is being canceled on Twitter because one time she was at a show in Italy and she shook her butt on stage in a way that was sexual. And they're like, oh, I just like Sabrina Carpenter's music. I had no idea. Then that's entertaining for me. It's spreading the pollution of my brainworms out to other people. Oh, okay, that's good. I was about to say, I was like, oh no, I don't know if that's allowed. Okay, all right, next question. Polyamory related. What is important to ask when you are feeling for someone who, okay, so you have feelings for someone who thinks polyamory is not an option for them right now, but they want to be close to me. Romantic feelings are involved. Okay, so you're having feelings or developing feelings for somebody that are romantic in nature. I'm assuming the implication is that you want to be polyamorous or are, but they think that polyamory is not an option for them right now. This is a hard one. I definitely know some people that are like, never mention it. They don't have to know. You can maintain your friendship. Never bring it up because it'll implode your relationship, and it's better not to say anything at all. And as long as you don't act on those romantic feelings, they don't need to know about it. You can just conduct a regular friendship, and that would be fine. But if my inclination with this is, I think if it's getting to the point where it's like there's awkward tension being around them, or there's very clearly something being unspoken between the two of you, or you think you're going to be unable to like maintain a friendship with them, I think it is important to, and maybe this is a cultural thing, I don't know, maybe other places are different. I would definitely want to say something about, developing feelings for you. Understand that you've talked before about like polyamory not really being an option for you right now. Like, could we talk more about that? And just like opening it up to a conversation of like, okay, my feelings are, let's talk about this more right now. And they might be super into the idea of having a relationship with you, but then expect you to be monogamous with them, which might not work for you. Or they might not even reciprocate the feelings, or they might like you, but then the polyamory is such a turnoff that it sort of outweighs the other feelings going on. It can go in a bunch of different directions, but I think if you can be honest, it's always the best thing to do, and especially if it gets to the point where it's making your friendship awkward. Theoretically, I think it is easier to go back to a friendship when you've cleared the air. And sometimes just hearing them say no, that they're not into you in the same way, or they couldn't be in a relationship with you because of the fact you're polyamorous or that you want to be. Sometimes it's just like, okay, well then I guess we can't be together. And that by itself is sort of enough to like snap you out of the theoretical infatuation-y feelings you might be experiencing when you can sort of imagine all these possible futures that might be there. When they're not actually possible anymore, it can help it be easier just to stay as friends, right? Oh, okay, yeah, you're polyamorous and into relationships right now? Okay, yeah. Then, they might not already know about that. I would talk about it carefully. I definitely hear of people, from the other perspective, the monogamous people who will say, I was friends with this person and they were polyamorous, and then like one day they tried to like get me to be in a relationship with them even though they knew I was monogamous, and I was so offended, and they get really upset about it, and they act like they're like somebody tried to trick them into being polyamorous. And it's like, no, you're being honest about your feelings, and you can't necessarily predict where they're going to end up because human brains and emotions are wibbly wobbly and hard to pin down sometimes, and that just happens. I find it hard to be friends with people I'm attracted to. It does make things awkward, yeah. And, and also, like, especially with the, like, not an option for them right now, like, maybe there is a possibility, like, maybe this is just a phrasing thing. That does give me the sense that, okay, maybe there is a possibility in the future, and it's just not right now. Maybe right now they're focused on school or family stuff or other types of relationships, and maybe in the future they might be open to it depending on how things go. So, it depends, but I hope that goes well for you. I know it can be really stressful when you're wanting to maintain an existing relationship, but there is something that's developing there. Obviously, you can't make somebody be polyamorous, right? That's important to remember too. You can't like convince someone to try it if it's not for them. But, you know, I think it is worth having a conversation. This is why I bring that up, is because like sometimes people just have like a false understanding of what it means to be polyamorous or what that can look like or the depth of feeling involved, or they have insecurities about it. And sometimes a conversation with the person where you talk to them one-on-one about like, this is how I do polyamory, this is what I want from relationships, can help them feel more comfortable with it if they think that polyamory is just about like unattached sex, or, you know, there's no way you can love multiple people the same amount or fall in love with more than one person at all. Or, you know, if you're polyamorous, that means you can't ever get married or like have kids. And, you know, none of those are necessarily true. There are definitely, for each one of those, there are people where the way they practice polyamory is not in alignment with those things. But there's other people for whom they can juggle one or more than one of those at the same time and also be polyamorous. We don't know where the romantic line lays. It's so blurred and we discuss it and we don't know what is romance and how the other person perceives it. Oh, okay. Yeah. No worries. Thank you for asking your question. This is definitely an important thing to talk about. Yeah. So it's like, I definitely know what it's like because I've had a number of relationships that started as friendships, and then suddenly one day we were definitely not friends anymore, like just friends anymore. And then we were like, so when is our anniversary? Because when do we actually like start dating? Because when we met, we weren't like trying to date each other, and then, you know, we're definitely not just friends. So when did that switch happen? But with polyamory, and especially with different relationship styles, there does need to be that clarity of like, okay, where's the line? What's happening? Where are we going? And I definitely am that kind of person who needs clarity. So if you're not getting it, I can imagine that's like frustrating, especially if you're not sure how the other person sees it. I feel like I can be friends with people I'm attracted to, but if I feel like there is mutual attraction, it's hard to stay friends. Oh yeah, if you feel like it's like we're no longer just like joke flirting with each other, we're like flirting, but then we're not actually taking it anywhere, like that's, yeah. That's the same as my husband and I met as friends in 2017, started dating in 2019, married in 2023. Yeah, it's like that happens too, where people just start out and they begin as friends, and then through the friendship, that can be the bedrock that a romance grows from. Not always, but that can happen. Like sometimes people do just really stay friends. But, you know, if you're in a position where right now you're like, the lines are really blurred, if only for the sake of, you know, this person maybe being able to date in a way that they want to be dating, or being able to accurately communicate to your existing partners what's going on, because that can be important for people too. I would really try to draw some lines in the sand, even if they're, you know, kind of would be wobbly and change over time. I would try to come up with, okay, so this is where we think the line is between like friendship and romance, and we're on this side of this or the other side of it. This is like, you know, where we're not willing to go. If it goes past this point, this is what this means. And talking to them about like, you know, how would you feel if I dated somebody else? How would you feel like if we had to stop doing this thing or talking to each other this way? Because I think also talking about how, okay, if this monogamous person was dating a new person, how would that new partner feel about the way that you two interact? I think that's important to keep in mind too. Of course, everyone's different with their comfort level, but if you're doing things that would make a new partner uncomfortable or like make them suspicious and you can't be in a relationship together, just the two of you, then like that's probably behavior that does need to be tamped down on, and if this person does want to be dating somebody else. On the ambiamorous, I am wondering if I could be like for a couple years monogamous. Oh, sure. I mean, people do that all the time. Yeah. Whether it's for practical reasons, they would prefer to be polyamorous, but maybe because of their like work-life balance or raising kids or taking care of elderly family members or moving countries, whatever, they just like can't make time for more than one relationship and they don't want to have to think about juggling that. Yeah, they can just be monogamous for a while, or maybe they just want to see how it is. Maybe they just want to know what it's like to be monogamous so they know for sure going forward what kind of relationship they want to be in 100%. And, you know, totally, absolutely happens. Some people, like, there are definitely people who will, like, try to, if they're in a relationship with somebody, who will try to be like, oh, well, why don't we just try being monogamous again for, like, a little bit? And they'll, like, kind of sneaky try to make the monogamous relationship be the permanent form of the relationship. and not try to have a conversation about it. Cause like, oh, well, like, okay, I'm okay with polyamory. What if we just like, we're monogamous until we like got settled into our new house, or like had a second kid, or, got married, or until I finish my degree, or until I get that promotion at work, or until. And then they just keep drawing it out to where you never actually get to be polyamorous again. And that would make me a little bit worried. But independently on your own, if you're just like, hey, I want to try to be monogamous just to see how it goes, like, definitely. Or to be with a person. People do that too, where, you find the right person and you just click and you're happy being monogamous with them. The one thing I would want to make sure with that is if your feelings about that did change, I would hope it would be the kind of thing that you could bring up and talk about. And, the person that you're getting into a monogamous relationship with would hopefully know, okay, this person is originally polyamorous. They're giving that up to be with me, and their feelings may change in the future, and that would be something that would need to be discussed, which is scary to think about, because like for some people that might mean a breakup, or that might mean, just a lot of emotional upheaval. But adult relationships are full of such things, and hopefully you're with somebody that can weather having that kind of adult conversation. I wish people used Wibby Wobbly more often. Bring back Whimsy. Indeed, that is my Marina the Diamonds was talking about that on Twitter the other day, and like TikTok and everywhere, and I love her for this. Marina, don't know where she went for a couple years there, but she is back and better than ever, and she is talking about how we need to bring cringe back, and whimsy, and love, and being earnest, and I am so here for that. I am so tired of the internet that is so afraid of being authentic and real in a way. Like, they're just so afraid of, like, it's like, if you are authentically yourself and cringy and weird and you make mistakes, people are like, oh my God, you're such a millennial. It's so cringy, so millennial. And it's like, so what? I have a life. I have jour de vie or whatever. Exactly, yeah. I don't know if I can even say the name of the song on stream. But yes, there is a new song by Marina the Diamonds. It's quite good. Just like classic Marina. It's like she never went anywhere. Very iconic. I love the fact that she's like the vanguard of bringing back whimsicalness. Somebody had to do it, by God. It's, everyone's so afraid of being who they are, and so afraid of being judged online and judged by others for like being a little messy or being a little strange in a way that's not been, I don't know, pre-approved by a panel of experts. It's just silly. But I'm also a big believer in being authentic, and that, means sometimes I'm going to be a little cringe, and that's fine. You know what? I'm cringe, okay? I don't know in what ways I'm cringe. I am. Who cares? Oh, do you have any recommendations for books or websites or other learning sources for polyamory? My favorite is definitely books. There are podcasts out there and blogs. I don't really engage with those, so I don't have any recommendations for ones I'd recommend, except for Chill Polyamory is really good. They're on Instagram. I think they also have a long-form podcast. What books do I have that are, like, handy? I'm getting the books. Pulling them out. There should be one more in here I'm looking for. All right, this is my third one. I had to think about the third one for a minute. I know, Papita. I moved, Papita. Your eyes are so full of joy. All right, these are my three. These happen to be in a similar color gradient for some reason. So the first one is Polysecure, which is just Jessica Fern. She has 2 books out. I don't have the second one out. I just have this first one, but both of them are worth reading. This is about attachment, trauma, and non-monogamy. This is more of a, like, get good advice for doing polyamory in a way that promotes security and positive relationship feelings. This is not really an introduction to polyamory in and of itself. This is more of like a 201, 301 level book, I would say, but definitely good information. My favorite like overview of different types of non-monogamous relationships is Opening Up by Tristan Taormino. I like this one because to me, this is the least judgmental about the most different styles of polyamory. So whether you are somebody that is into like kink or vanilla relationships, if you are into like triads or an extended polycule or solo poly, like this book is really open to a lot of different ways because it gives like life stories of people who make different types of relationships work for them. Whereas a lot of the other books out there about polyamory, which, by the way, I have like links down below to like book recommendations where I give a whole bunch of book recommendations. But these are just sort of like my personal highlights from my bookshelf. And a lot of the other ones, especially ones that came out in a similar time period to this one, tend to be a lot more judgmental and prescriptive about if you do this kind of polyamory, it won't work. The only kind of polyamory that really ever works is like non-hierarchical, like polyamory where it's like you don't have any rules and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, it's so variable, especially when you add kink to the mix because different people's brains are different. And I don't like being judgmental that way. I think people get too judgmental about, like, people put a lot of assumptions on what it means to be, you know, hierarchical, non-hierarchical, whatever, and it's like, it's exhausting. But this one I find to not be exhausting. Some of the other ones are, because they're written by men with a stick up their butt. And I don't want to listen to that. A book that's written by a man who does not have a stick up his butt, thank God. Well, maybe he does. I don't know. I don't think he's into butt stuff. Is Sexual Intelligence by Dr. Marty Klein. And this is not, again, it's not about polyamory. This one is just about, like, as the cover says, sexual intelligence. I mean, we critique what intelligence means, right? But the idea of this book is talking about, like, having a better relationship to your sex life, you know, communicating about sex, the vision of sex across your lifespan. And I think if you're going to be doing polyamory and sex is a part of that, like having something like this that you can draw from is important, because if you're dating like cross-generationally, if, you know, a partner is going through menopause, you know, if you're dealing with feelings of insecurity, inadequacy, if you're worried about your penis being too small, like this book covers all of that stuff. And I think just knowing that ahead of time is good information to have, but is not like when it, like there's most books about polyamory, they will talk about sex, but most of the conversations are about like avoiding jealousy and mitigating jealousy, which is an important conversation, but it's not as comprehensive as something like this, which I think is just, again, good for anyone to know about. And it's a pretty quick read. It's like 200-something pages, I think. Yeah, 230. And there's also like good stories in here of like different people's experiences, and like I think that it's been very helpful for like learning more about like, you know, like the main thing honestly I get out of this book is it exists to get you to stop worrying about feeling normal, about how you are sexually. Like, and I think that is a big source of comparison between partners in polyamory is like, well, but I'm not normal in this way, so they must be really awesome and they're better than I am because XYZ reason. And it's not about being better or being worse or somebody being more or being like more normal and you're too weird. Like, no. It's not about that. Erase all that bullshit in your head, because what is actually the thing that is actually normal for human beings is variety, is difference. And you might be somebody that takes like an hour to come, and your new metamor might be somebody who takes like 10 minutes or 5 or 20 seconds or who knows. And that doesn't make either one of you better or worse. It's about understanding your individual functioning and like not talking down either about yourself or other people because of the way that their bodies function or the things that you find arousing or whatever the fuck. Like, just stop policing yourself. It's fine. Like, that's like, unless you're doing something criminal, it's fine. Like, if it's anything short of that, stop worrying about it is really the point. And I think more people need to hear that. And like, you know, a doctor saying it maybe sounds more authoritative than me saying it. You're tearing me apart, Lisa. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you. The fact that all of those are like burned in my skull permanently, even though I haven't watched The Room. What is it? It's like, oh, it's Johnny, my favorite customer. Oh, those are great. This book sounds perfect for me right now. Yes. Okay. I will show it again one more time. I have my focus changed on my camera, so it's not good at showing things up close, but it's Sexual Intelligence, Dr. Marty Klein, spelled the way you think. It's pretty upfront. And this I got used at Powell's for $12, but there is an ebook version if you like that. Pretty much all of these have ebook versions that are much cheaper. And that's that on that. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm gonna put these back here before I have these kind of like put there. There we go. Okay. Bandita got up and is stretching. Why'd she get up? Why'd she stretch? Why'd she do a stretch, huh? You look at me? You look at me, fuzzy dog? You come into my house and you look at me? Uh-oh. Oh, the camera's drifting. I want it to go the other way. Just the camera's having trouble focusing on your beauty, my darling. Okay, let me fix the wire. There we go. That's better. Papita, what is that? What is that, Papita? Boop, back to floof mode. Okay, it won't like turn. Why won't it turn this way? Like, I don't know, Bandita. Do you know what's going on with the camera? Do you know what's happening? I don't. There we go. He was looking directly into your soul. As she looks into mine at all times. She's so good. Whenever you get stressed out, just look at my dog, and then you will feel markedly less stressed. Okay. Got distracted talking about my dog. Don't shame my bank robbing kink. I mean, there's a way to do that that doesn't involve actually robbing a bank, I would assume. We got her little eyebrows going and her little toe beans. Exactly. Okay. Getting caught up on questions here. Yeah, anyone can wear skirts. Skirts are a state of mind. Drumsticks are great for caning. I agree. Yeah, no bamboo. Rattan is better. I don't know why I said that weird, rattan. Wide leg pants are great. I love wide leg pants. Love a good wide leg. Oh, she's leaving. Where'd you go, puppy? Oh, she went to go get water. I have autism and I have kinks I want to explore that are riskier, such as CNC and hypno. As someone new to kink and not understanding social cues, how do I know who to trust / get started off right? It's a great question. Because those kinks are both broadly edge play, and finding the right person to do those kinks with can take more time. Now, if those are your only kinks and you're not willing to explore anything else, then that's a different conversation. But I would probably get into your local community. I would meet people that way, develop a rapport with people, get a general sense of the vibe in that space. And then when you get friends who are not interested in playing with you, that only have your best interest at heart, then you can talk to them about, different people you might want to play with. Like if somebody approaches you at a party and says, hey, I'd love to do this scene with you, you can go to your friends and go, oh, hey, Greg said they wanted to play with me. Like, what do we know about Greg? And they can say, oh, yeah, Greg's got to do something last week, blah, blah, blah. Or they can say, oh, no, don't play with Greg. No, Greg, bad news. Sorry to anyone in the chat named Greg. I'm both praising you and also denigrating the name Greg. Had to pick one, sorry. But I think the best way to get started is by not leaping into play, whether it's edgy or otherwise, making friends, building up social connections. And it's through like being in that wider social network that you can get a better understanding of who you can trust versus having to rely on just your individual personal analysis. I do have some videos where I talk about evaluating red flags and like how to assess people that you're meeting up with for play. Generally speaking, the things that I would be looking for if I like didn't have a community or like it just wasn't very big, and so, you know, 2 people is maybe not as helpful as like 10. If that's the situation you're in, or if you're like mostly playing online and you're having to evaluate people, what I would look at is, okay, do they like rush right into play, right? Is their first and foremost number one goal like getting into play as soon as possible? Like, do they want to get to know you as a person outside of kink, or do they only care about like sex and kink as part of who you are as a person? Do they like pressure you to do anything that you're not into doing, right? Like if you say, oh, I'm not really into being called baby girl, do they try to talk you into it anyways? They say, oh, well, like baby girls, like it's like, really fun. You should like be more open-minded. If they ever try to shame you or like convince you that your assessment of something you're comfortable with or not is wrong, that's a really, really big red flag. If they try to talk you into like playing in private right away, especially if you have the option to play in public, that's a big red flag, because like, okay, it's sometimes local communities are shitty, and maybe the local dungeon is actually just like in the back room of like a dive bar with like a bad reputation, and actually playing there would be dangerous. But if you're in a big city or you're near to one, usually it has a little bit of a better reputation than that. And so if you are able to go play in public around other people, it's going to be safer than like meeting someone at home. And also, like, are they willing to have detailed conversations with you about your kinks and what you're into and what your limits are? And like actually sit down and talk to you about them, not in like an erotic, like foreplay way, but in a like getting to know you as a person. Like, okay, where are your limits? Do they ask you questions? Are they engaged in the conversation? Or does it really seem like they're just like checking off a list and trying to get it over and done with as soon as possible? So it's about like people being engaged, people being like into you holistically as a person, and not just like what your body can offer. But that is a tough one for sure. As an autistic edge player, I'd also advise normal high risk first. Oh wait, like sorry, my OBS window's cutting that off. First aid precautions. Have a friend who's willing to step in and bail you out. Oh yeah, for sure. Let people know where you're going. Let people know, or someone know at least, where you're going, how long you're going to be, and what they should do if they don't hear back from you, or you don't go home by a certain time, or anything like that. Or even just have having it arranged to where like a friend is dropping you off and picking you up, you know. That's also a great way to do it, because it's really easy to make sure someone is going to always be there, and they're also going to see who you're talking to, and then they know who that person looks like, right? So that also just like baseline good safety stuff for sure is always a good thing. And yeah, there's definitely more that I could talk about with baseline safety stuff or like evaluating potential play partners. But in my mind, even if you want to do edge play, the best people that you could play with are going to be people that are not even as a top going to want to play with you doing those edgy things immediately right away. Most people that I play with, even if they mostly do edge play with their more experienced partners and people they've been with for a longer time, they are... Where are you going, Bendita? Bendita, where are you going? Yeah, I caught you, huh? What are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah, and you wanted it all the way over there. You look suspicious. You look suspicious going all the way over there, ma'am. Wasn't my fault. Looking for crumbs, probably. That's my bet. There we go. We're laying down. Yep. If she goes over this, she'll lay right in front of the door, and that means she needs to go outside and like go to the bathroom. She doesn't normally have to do that this time of day, but sometimes. No, she's very far away from the camera. It's kind of funny. But yeah, in my experience, people even that are edge players normally, they will take more time to get into edge play with a new person because they want to evaluate like your nonverbal communication in scene. Like, can they communicate with you easily in a scene? Like, do you go into subspace easily? What's your aftercare routine like? Are you compatible outside of maybe just verbally, oh, I'm into this. Oh, I'm also into this. Like, evaluating you as like a play partner in a lower lower stakes setting that doesn't involve like complicated role play or like coded safe words or like a more involved level of emotional kink. Oh, thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Sean has gifted another. Was that 10 memberships? Oh my goodness. Thank you, Sean. 10 more memberships for people in the audience. Thank you so much. That's very generous. Hopefully, if you wanted a membership, you got gifted one. Thank you so much. Welcome to all of our new members. Congratulations. Doesn't always feel like you're winning a raffle, folks. That is fantastic. Okay, yeah. So that is about what I would say for evaluating people. You know, go slowly, meet people, make friends. And if anyone is trying to rush you, that's usually a bad sign. There are people who like are rushing. It's not that it's like a universal thing, right? Like people can rush and want to get to play really fast, not because they're bad people, but because they're impatient. Like they may not have bad intentions. It's not only ever bad intentions. But if you're brand new, I would not get involved with somebody who like needs to get to play right away. You know, somebody who's more experienced maybe could do that if they have a really strong sense of self. Oh, we got some sneezies, honey. My goodness. Poor Bandita. So sneezy. Her sneezes are really cute, though. As are everything that she does. Autistic, but I'm way too sensitive. I heard your extreme sadist punishments. How do I play when I'm too sensitive over everything? I can barely handle roasted banter. That was not what I was expecting. Like emotional sadomasochism? Or like, when you say sensitive, do you mean like emotionally sensitive or like physically your body is sensitive too? Given I'm not a doctor, I also am not autistic. So maybe other people's bodies and brains, if you're autistic, work differently. So please correct me if I'm wrong about this. Generally speaking, as a baseline for people, if you start out being like too sensitive for something, which in this case really just means you are more sensitive than the things you want to be doing, not in a, you know, value judgment, you know, you're objectively too sensitive because there's an amount of sensitivity that's the correct amount to be sensitive. Not like that, but just like your own assessment of how sensitive you are. Usually what that means is like, okay, we know our tolerance level is currently here. We're going to start here and we're going to slowly crawl towards incrementally where our current level of sensitivity is. And then hopefully by just going like half a point beyond that, we can slowly open up our amount of sensitivity, our amount of stimulation that we're comfortable receiving, because we're essentially teaching our brain and our body that every subsequent level of stimulation before that is safe to be in. So this means staying like well below anything that would like trigger a meltdown, that would be a trigger for like a trauma response, anything like that. Only staying in what is comfortable, what feels safe, and really practicing verbally communicating in the scene, and even like telling yourself internally that like, I'm doing what I want to be doing. I'm safe here. My body is safe here. I can trust this person. Not to like brainwash yourself into believing that if that's not true, but if you feel it already, if you know going into the scene, I feel safe, I'm ready, I can handle this. Having that positive self-talk during the experience can also help you like maintain that frame of mind without like panicking in the moment, because you're verbally reassuring your body, we're safe, and then you're maintaining a relaxed body language. Or, you know, I realize that for if you're autistic, that maybe looks different for you than a neurotypical person, but like whatever feeling relaxed is for you, like doing that in the scene. So that could be like keeping your shoulders relaxed, keeping your jaw unclenched, making sure your fists aren't like completely balled up, manually like reminding yourself going from the tips of your toes to the top of your head to relax each set of muscles as you're like scanning through them. That can help you keep your body relaxed. And when your body is relaxed, your brain is less likely to freak out, and vice versa is also true. So maintaining a calm state of mind, a calm state in your body, and then introducing progressively, just incrementally more intense stimulation, maintaining that sense of safety and relaxedness, being relaxed. And then hopefully through that, your body will learn that going into deeper areas of play are going to be safe. At least in some respects. It's not going to work universally for all things, but that can help at least a lot of people slowly open up their ability to like take more intense stimulation, because it's about communicating safety. Affirming or affirmations help me a lot too, top or bottom. It helps drop your cortisol levels too, I believe. Yes, that is when I'm kind of like speaking broadly when I say, you know, helps your body relax, or like helps your body like, you know, learn that it can feel safe here. Like what I like, there's a biochemical process behind that, which involves obviously like, you know, your cortisol levels, neurotransmitters being released, like the whole complicated process that cascades off of that. And part of that is obviously also your cortisol levels, right? If your cortisol levels are up, that's going to cause physiological things to happen in your body as a result of that. And that will further lead your brain to panic more. And like it has a feedback loop, right? Whereas if you go the opposite direction and you cut that off, then your cortisol levels go down, and then your physiological responses will go down. And then you'll enter into a calmer state, and your parasympathetic nervous system will take over, and then it'll be a lot easier to cope with stuff. Yeah. Yeah, talk nerdy to us. Yeah, I'm talking impromptu, so I don't want to like describe anything incorrectly, but those are just like the broad strokes. The polyvagal theory is interesting. It is by no means like perfectly correct about anything, but there are interesting ways if you are interested in this particular thing. Polyvagal theory is one tool that you can use to kind of describe this action. And again, like I don't think polyvagal theory is 100% accurate. Like biologically, I think it misunderstands some stuff, but that basic process of both top down and bottom up regulation is like roughly approximately correct in a lot of ways. Pop-Tart is a pastry, darn it. No, yeah, I agree, but it is a pastry. Could a pastry be a sandwich? If you make a sandwich out of a croissant, is that a pastry? Or is it a sandwich? Or is it both? These are the questions. These are the burning questions we have to answer on this live stream. Ooh, I got light up drumsticks that change color with every hit. Great for caning. And booty drums. So much fun. Yes, those sound fantastic. Is a loaf of bread as bread sandwich? Yes, it is, but you wouldn't eat it like a sandwich. True. Well, you don't know how I eat sandwiches. Don't judge me. You don't know. Maybe I eat them like this, like a cartoon character, where you just go, and I just like I'm just working something down, like I'm in a Looney Tunes or something. I think a bread sandwich is a thing, is it not? Isn't it like 2 pieces of toast with like untoasted bread in the middle? A toast sandwich is a food. It has a Wikipedia page. I've seen it before. I don't remember why or where or when, but I've seen it. Oh my God, it is. It's from the UK by people, of course. They even make fancy ones. Oh no, wait, I got it reversed. It's untoasted bread with a toasted piece in the middle. We do have the most depressing cuisine imaginable, don't we, folks? Oh, we're just, wow. A toast sandwich, also known as a bread sandwich, is a sandwich in which the filling between 2 slices of bread is in itself a thin slice of toasted bread, which may be buttered. Thank God. An 1861 recipe says to add salt and pepper to taste. A recipe for toast sandwiches is included in the Invalid Cookery section of the 1861 Book of Household Management by Isabella Beaton. By the way, a book that's commonly recommended for people who want to learn how to do service submissions. So, theoretically, you could make your dom a toast sandwich if they're like, make me period accurate Victorian meals. You could make them a toast sandwich, and then you could say, don't blame me, Isabella Beaton made me do it. Because you can brat in any age of human history, folks. You can be doing any kind of role play, and you can work bratting into it, mark my words. This sandwich may be varied by adding a little pulled meat, just a little, because the toast in the middle needs to be the star of the show, or very fine slices of cold meat to the toast, and in any of these forms will be found very tempting to the appetite of an invalid. But that is what they call it, by the way. They're saying the word invalid, which is somebody who's receiving health care. That seems like that should be offensive, but maybe it's not. Oh my goodness. Wow. I do want to, I'm going to look up, I'm sure somebody on YouTube's like recreated a toast sandwich. There's no way they've not made that. Like, isn't that their like cooking history guy? That seems like the kind of thing that he would do. Maybe, but he'd have to like make the bread from scratch with like a Victorian bread recipe. Because if he just whipped out a loaf of like, you know, Sandra Lee or whatever, then it wouldn't be a very short video, wouldn't it? God. The things I learned on the internet. It's fantastic. During World War II, they came up with a device that would hold a slice of bread so you could slice it perfectly into 2 slices to double your slices. I think I've heard that before. I don't know. That's another one of those random facts floating around in my brain. That sounds familiar. I believe it. Yes, like a yardstick, exactly. Bum. If all your metamors came together to pilot a giant mech, would it be a Metazord? Yes. I don't know what that is exactly, but yes. I'm going to explain the Monopoly relationship bit already. I had an unhealthy relationship with Monopoly the game, as I would always crush my nephews and nieces ruthlessly with zero empathy. Damn, those kids are going to learn the perils of capitalism sooner or later, I guess. Oh, jeez. I thought the point was to let the kids win. That's not true. I didn't always win in my family, so what the heck. Played fair and square. Ooh, how do I even go forward? I've been thinking of breaking up and trying dating people who are more like me, but I don't know how. I feel like I missed something. Oh, here we go. Autistic and ace. I have tried choking, temperature play, and spanking with my fiance. Realized I was pressured into having sex by him and life. I saw your video on J.K. Rowling, and I'm having a hard time coping. Ooh, I am very sorry, Sabrina. Okay. So, tried kink. You like the kink, but maybe the vanilla sex or the beginning of your sexual relationship was not positive, and now you're questioning the whole relationship. And like whether or not you want to move forward with it. Okay, I'm gonna try to like move. Oh no. You have made me move this camera so many times today, Bandita. So many times. You're just going around the world today, huh? Beep. There we go. So this is how I would approach it. Like, legitimately, if I was in your shoes and I had like a revelation about somebody that I was going to get married to, because I take marriage very seriously, and if I was having doubts about a relationship that was supposed to be forever and always, I would want to make totally for sure right then and there, are we going to keep going forward? And I would recommend trying to find a couples therapist. There are people who are couples therapists that are kink aware, poly aware, like very affirming, like asexuality affirming, all that stuff. Especially if you're in America, I don't know where you're at in the world. Maybe that's not true where you live, but in a lot of places, you can get access to couples therapists who will do short, limited time, like let's say 3 to 10 sessions of premarital counseling, where the whole point of it is to really iron out for sure, is this the person you want to be with for the rest of your life? And that can be really scary, but if you feel like you were pressured by your partner into having sex and that's continued in your relationship, do you want to have that happen for the rest of your life? Or do you just need to talk about it and then like maybe you can work through it and you can come to an agreement and understanding and then the things would be okay. But if you're having any doubts at all, I would look into doing some kind of like not like, because there are definitely people who would do couples therapy for like a long time, and I don't think that's always helpful for everyone. I think starting out with the intention of we're going to do like 3 to 5 sessions, really focus in on this one issue, and then if that uncovers a bunch of other stuff, maybe we'll consider doing this for longer. And if we can figure it out like in those couple of sessions up front, great. But I think having a mediator to have those conversations can be really important, just for you to feel comfortable doing it. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay to do what you feel is right, and also a therapist could be extremely helpful since these are extremely hard feelings. Yeah, exactly. Because I don't want to judge like from the outside looking in that like, oh wow, that's like, you know, absolutely terrible, and like you should break up with them immediately. Because like, I don't know, I'm not in that relationship, and if you're not feeling that way, I'm not going to pressure you to feel one way or the other about that. And I think, you know, consent is really complicated, and in our culture and in our society, there's not a lot of good messaging about what good consent looks like, and a lot of people think that, you know, seduction or like using like foreplay as a way to get somebody to say yes is like perfectly normal and like a valid way of obtaining consent from somebody. And like, you know, I've been in relationships where that's happened, and like people, like, it's just part of the script you're taught. And people think that, oh, well, but eventually you said yes, or eventually you gave in and did the thing that I wanted. I think that means it's okay. And that might not be okay for you. And it's important to understand that and get to the bottom of that. Yeah, sex pressure is bad, okay? Yeah. But I'm sorry you're going through that. That sounds very rough. But that would be the next step that I would take. And at the very least, maybe just talking about it with a therapist gets those, you know, hard feelings out. And then when they're said, maybe that feels better. But again, I'm really sorry you're going through that. And I wish everybody the best. And I wish that sexual coercion and pressure was not as common in relationships as it is. But for some reason, we've decided that that's like how you get people to do things. And if they don't want to do it, you just have to talk to them into it, because it's the art of the deal, baby. Talk people. No, she's gonna play hard to get, and so I have to talk her into doing it. And that's, you know, if I'm a really manly man and if she loves me and she cares about me, then she's gonna want to do these things that I do. Like, that's so common, even with people that are like fairly like open-minded, progressive people that like care about consent. A lot of them still have like background thoughts of, if I push hard enough, if like, because it's their needs competing against your boundaries. And when you get into a dynamic where they're trying to talk down your boundaries to get their needs met because they feel entitled to have their needs met in a certain way to maintain a relationship, that gets really scary. And a lot of people will compromise their boundaries for somebody else's happiness because, well, but I need this, but I want this, but how can you love me if you don't want to do this thing? And they use sex for obtaining relationship security, affirming themselves, you know, helping their self-esteem, like a million different things, right, that they will go to sex for that may not always be helpful, because especially if we're talking about a masculine person, a lot of people with penises were raised to view sex as like the most important thing that not only mediates their gender, but also their self-esteem, their place in the social hierarchy amongst other men. And that leads to a lot of like bad things if the only way you get emotional support and validation in a relationship is through somebody's willingness to do certain sex acts for you. Your own sovereignty is what is the most important at the end of the day. I hope you can work through these on your own time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've never heard it stated as needs versus boundaries. That was really insightful. Thank you. I just came up with that. I just came up with that right now. I don't know if anyone else has ever said it that way. But that's how I think about it is, yeah, because that's, you know, as an ace person, I've run into this a lot in relationships over the years of people being like, well, but I just thought eventually if you cared about me, if you this, if you that, and the other. And it's like, I'm always really upfront. I'm always very clear about, hey, this is how I feel about sex. This is not like my priority in a relationship. This is what I prioritize instead. And oh, how many times over the years have I gone through it where it's like, well, we've been together for 6 months and, you know, you still haven't done XYZ thing with me. And so like, you know, you're depriving me and you're hurting me. And it's like, especially now that I'm polyamorous, it's like, you can do that with somebody else. And if you're not happy not doing those things with me, then, well, I used to compromise on my boundaries, but now I don't anymore. So, sorry. Because at one point, I learned that actually compromising on my boundaries there was a bad idea. And it did not actually lead me to better relationships in the long term. My favorite sandwich is toast with cream cheese on one side, peanut butter on the other, thinly sliced bananas layered in between. Wait. Cream cheese on one side, peanut butter on the other. Oh, okay. I thought we were talking about a toast sandwich still, and I was like thinking about which, like the middle toast having. Okay, so that makes more sense. Okay, isn't that kind of like an Elvis sandwich? Because isn't an Elvis sandwich peanut butter, bananas, and like marshmallow fluff, or maybe it's just peanut butter and banana. It's like some combination of those two, I think. I've never tried that before, though. It might be too much for my palate, but I love that you love that. And I love that you found something that you enjoy so much. No, go for it. We love deep questions. If I don't want to answer it, I won't answer it. But, deep questions are good. All that about masculine people is true until you start estrogen and your relationship with sex gets rewired. That is cool. You get a reset button on it, though. You get a freebie restart. Oh, wait. No, maybe an Elvis does have bacon in it. What sandwich? Isn't there one? Okay, wait. I could just Google this. There's definitely a Wikipedia page for this, yeah? Oh, it's peanut butter, banana, and bacon. Why did I think it just had peanut butter and banana? No, you're right. It does have bacon. What's the one that has marshmallow fluff? Oh, I'm thinking of a fluffer nutter, aren't I? I'm thinking of a fluffer nutter. That's peanut butter and marshmallow cream. I got half of a fluffer nutter and half of an Elvis sandwich mixed up. You can tell that I eat these types of sandwiches all the time, can't you? I think he just likes sandwiches. I mean, hey, I like a sandwich. I get in the mood. Actually, I have to go through periods where I don't buy sliced bread from the grocery store, because if I do that, I will like only eat sandwiches until I run out of sliced bread. And then like I just have like peanut butter and jelly, like tofurkey sandwiches, and then I'm like, I think I probably shouldn't have, like, it is a very rewarding treat. It is on a warm spring day. I genuinely believe there are few foods that are better than a cold glass of milk, oat milk, whatever kind of milk you like, and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I do think that is a little slice of happiness right there, in my personal opinion. Now we're calling it the Eevee. I feel like I should probably eat the sandwich at least once if we're gonna name it after me. Although I will say peanut butter and banana is very dog coded for a sandwich. It is very dog coded, and I support that. Oh, you have to fry it? Oh, to be an Elvis. It does look like they're all toasted, at least on all the pictures. Not like deep fried, like in a fryer, but like toasted. Also, apparently, honey is one of them. One of the optional ingredients. An Elvis nutter. That's dangerously close to something that sounds very inappropriate, but yes. Peanut butter and cheese sounds very British. I do love British sandwiches, though. Toast sandwich, maybe not, but they do have some bomb sandwich varieties, like a cheese and pickle or whatever. Like, there's something about the kinds of pickles that they put on that variety of sandwich that slaps. What's one of my favorite things to do when I travel is to go to grocery stores in different countries and just be like, what do people get for like a quick lunch here? And sometimes the sandwiches are really sad, and sometimes they have 20,000 different kinds of sandwiches, and I'm like, what is this? Okay, all right, moving on. Next question. That's the one I was just on. Uno is better for people who can't follow rules or respect the pieces of the game. Fair. Uno was invented, I guess, for people that don't respect anyone but themselves. you would have to have really strong relationships, where to play diplomacy and have your relationship survive. That has been known to end more marriages than any 2 other board games. Oh, I didn't know that. I don't think I've ever even heard of diplomacy as a board game. The more you know. I did play Risk growing up a couple times. That was like a later edition, but I never played it with like a romantic partner, so I don't know how that would go. Sky Queen asks, okay, my question is, any advice for those who feel extreme shame about their kinky side? Well, Sky Queen, you're very lucky because I have a whole video talking about dealing with guilt and shame. And so if you haven't seen that video, I would recommend it. If you're dealing with extreme shame, I would start with the things I talk about in the video. But if that's not helping, at some point, bringing in a mental health professional is probably going to help the most, because there's probably a lot that's like bubbling beneath the surface that needs to be talked about in a supportive environment. And like a big part of dealing with guilt and shame for people is being in a supportive community with people who aren't going to reject them. And sometimes that starts with a therapeutic setting, because you might not have people in your everyday life who can be there that won't be judgmental. And there's a really big leap between talking about it with absolutely no one at all but yourself, and then dropping yourself into a community space with some people who would support you, depending on what it is. So an in-between step might be talking to a therapist and getting their support and their affirmation, and that might give you sort of the safe landing place you need to then feel okay going on and exploring in a broader community to get that support. Because that's really the key thing that I think wards off shame long-term, is being around like-minded people that are not going to reject you for who you are. And that doesn't necessarily have to be in person, though it can be. It can also be online, like Discord communities, FetLife communities. Like, there's ways to meet people that don't necessarily mean having to go out in person and socialize, because that can be a little bit higher risk and more vulnerable. But that's usually what helps people the most long term, versus just like, I don't know, telling themselves to like not feel guilty about stuff anymore. But that is definitely a process to get there. And it's like kind of what I was talking about earlier with, you know, teaching your body to feel comfortable. Like, that's a lot of things, like seemingly psychologically, that happen is if our brain is holding on to really intense emotions about something, it's because it's trying to protect us from something. And in this case, like with guilt and shame, usually what our body is trying to protect us from, what our brain is trying to protect us from, is like rejection, isolation, judgment, which are really painful feelings for human beings, because we're social animals. We're meant to like be in communal environments for the most part, and like have the support of other human beings around us. And if we're afraid of not having that, it can be paralyzing. And so the way to help your body feel progressively safer and to reduce that feeling of guilt and shame is to find people that are going to be supportive, that aren't going to reject you, that can affirm you in your interests and have a similar perspective as you do, because then you're going to relate to them. But that's, again, a whole process. And I would watch that video that I made talking about dealing with guilt and shame, because it's definitely more complicated than just what I'm saying right now. But that would be a good starting point. And then also talking to a therapist, because this is a relatively common issue that a lot of people grapple with. When I'm not being understood, I definitely don't feel very intimate with whoever I'm talking to. Yeah. And that's, I think, one of the functions of like being in a kink community is like, yes, you could talk to your vanilla friends about the kink stuff and you might get some kind of support from them, but it might not mean as much as getting it from people that are more similar to you, that only kind of are like trying to humor you because they like you, but like they get it. They understand on like a deeper personal level than just somebody being like, oh, don't worry, I don't judge you. Like, that's fine if that's your thing, I guess. Like, that's a little bit helpful sometimes, but it doesn't do nearly as much as people being like, fuck yeah, like, that's sick. Like, I don't know, maybe they probably wouldn't say that, but maybe, like, I think if you were really nervous about something and then somebody said, fuck yeah, that's sick, dude, that might make it worse, but it might make it better, I don't know. Like, you know, I don't really deal with guilt and shame like myself personally. Like, I've always been a freak little weirdo. I've like always known I've been a freak little weirdo. So I never had any attachment to like wider society approving of me or my behavior. So I never really had to deal with that. But I've really known people where like having the supportive community has helped them a lot. Or even just like one person, like talking to one person about, I have a big secret and my kink is I'm really into feet. Please don't judge me. And just having one person be like, oh, okay, well, that doesn't change how I feel about you. Pro tip though, kind of want to handle this similarly to how you handle a friend coming out of the closet. What you don't say is you don't say, oh, well, I always knew that. Or that's not a big deal. Like, who cares? Don't minimize, please. If you ever have a friend that's coming to you from a vulnerable state because they're anxious about being judged, and you tell them it's not a big deal or who cares or anything, just, if you want to get close to that, the best thing that you can say is, that doesn't change how I feel about you. I'm still your friend, and thank you for trusting me. That's what you should say. Don't be like, who cares? Maybe certain friendships that could work out okay, but as a baseline, wouldn't start with that as a response. I'm gayer. Yeah, looking. All right, good question today, y'all. Lots of good stuff. All right, get into some more questions here. We're going to move right along. Oh, is there like a follow-up thing from something else? I don't know what that's connected to, so I'm going to I'll look real quick. I can't find that. That seems like it's a part 2 of a question, but I'm not sure, so I'm going to move on. Have you made any videos on kink online / long distance? My partner and I are meeting in person next week for the first time. Ooh, exciting. But that'll be rare for a while. So not in the, on Patreon, yes. I don't have anything on YouTube because I am still exploring, like I haven't had until recently, I haven't had a long distance kink relationship. I'm sort of doing it for the first time now this year. And I'm like, before I give any definite advice to like the wider public on like, this is what I think works, I'm figuring it out for myself in the meantime. And then when I have a really solid answer, I will tell you. And it depends on what you both want, right? Like I'm in a position where I can go visit my long distance partner like fairly frequently because we just happen to be lucky in that, my work speaking, I think having dedicated time to be with the person that you set aside, to be, it doesn't necessarily have to be really active time. I prefer that because I am a talker and I want to sit and talk to people and go through feelings and go through ideas. And so it's important for me to have like dedicated date time. So that would probably be my baseline advice is just like, pick a day, maybe 2 days a week where you set aside an hour or two just to have focus time, whether that be talking about the relationship or talking about your lives, your history, or a topic you want to hear their opinion on, or doing some other kind of date night thing that would be important to you. That could be a video call, could be a voice call, could just be hanging out on Discord and just being focused with each other for that time, whatever works. But I think that communicates that you're dedicated to the relationship, but you're not just around when it's convenient. And it's treating that relationship the same way that you would other relationships. Like usually people are dating. Most people do like a weekly or a bi-weekly date where they spend time together. And this is helping kind of bridge that gap between online and long distance. But that's probably about where I'm going to leave it for now. As I said, I'm still working on my own advice for long distance kink because I haven't done it before. So I'm figuring out what it's like. I'm figuring out what works and what doesn't. And when I have a more definite answer beyond just the, zero... Oh, did we just disconnect from the stream? I'm apparently sending 0 kilobytes. That's not good. It does look pretty stormy outside. I'm not shocked that my internet might be... They were doing, actually, last night, they were working on my internet for some reason. I just got an email that was like, we will be working on your internet service. And I'm like, oh, geez, what's wrong? So it might still be, yeah. It's my internet is struggling for the minute. But yeah, good question. I will definitely, when I have a more thorough answer, I will be I will be giving a more thorough answer. Interesting question. Okay, this is just a short one. I'll answer. Have you ever heard of someone by the name of Juicy Pama? I don't know what that is. No, I have never heard of somebody by that name. And what are they? Who are they? Where are they? It sounds like something from Roblox, and I'm scared. It's kind of disconnecting sometimes. Damn it. Long distance relationship is quite difficult and requires a huge level of trust and dedication. My success with it so far has been regrettable mostly. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm currently trying to do a long distance from America with a woman in the EU. Ooh, good luck. Yeah, I would probably not do a long distance relationship that's like that long distance. Like I want to see my partner regularly. About the level of long distance I am currently at is probably what would be sustainable for me. Oh no, okay, it's happening again. It seems, let me look at I'll just keep we don't have like a ton of time left in the stream, but I'm just going to keep my stream health monitor up here, and I'll just see if anything changes. Seems like we're doing okay. But, Bandita, did you do something with the internet? Did you chew on a cord? Did you chew on a cord, ma'am? Did you bring the stormy weather about? Probably not. Probably wasn't her fault. I shouldn't blame her. She's done nothing wrong in her entire life ever. Only happened 3 times for me. Oh no! Ah! Okay, just started. Okay. I'm going to assume that it's okay. It seems like I'll just keep an eye on it and then try to see what it's correlated with later. I think it might just be that our internet is struggling with the sudden weather change. Is what I'm going to blame it on. All right. I'm gonna be really nice, okay? Don't spam the chat with your question, or I won't answer it, okay? Does everyone understand this? If you want to make sure I answer your question, that's what you can use a super chat for that, or a Streamlabs donation, and then I'll read it right away. But if you're insistent that I must answer your question, I'm not going to answer it because I don't reward bad behavior. Just so we all know. I'm going to I go in order. I did see your question. Just right now is the next one I was going to answer. Don't panic. We're going to get to it. Just be polite, okay? All right. Plus, I usually give people a 10-minute warning, and then if I haven't answered it, and you absolutely must have an answer to your question, you can re-ask it in the last 10 minutes. FYI. Never blame my dog for anything. All right, let's see. What was this question? How do I get to the point of being turned on while being caned and getting to a place of euphoria? That's a big question. There is no guarantee. The short answer to that question that I can give you the next 5 minutes is one, you can't make yourself like anything, really. You have to sort of think about it like the positive has to be much more positive than the negative. If you absolutely hate caning, if you have a phobia of caning, if you pair a somewhat positive stimulus with that, what's more likely to happen is you end up having a more negative attitude towards what was once a positive stimulus because of how negative the negative is. So what generally you're trying to do is you're trying to stay in the range of mildly pleasurable to mildly unpleasant, paired with a very large, pleasant form of stimulus. So what typically for most people, what that means is pairing their kinky stimulus of choice they're trying to develop a better relationship to with their favorite way of having an orgasm. That could be a vibrator, could be whatever it is that you like, but some kind of consistent thing that brings you a form of sexual pleasure that you could either do yourself or your partner can control. And then there's a whole process for like how to do like conditioning properly, and it's a whole thing. And there's take a class on like behavioralism as applied to BDSM, and you will get a thorough answer for this elsewhere, more than what I can do right now. But essentially what you're trying to do is you start out doing a kink thing that you like, that gets you warmed up. You do lots of good, positive verbal affirmations while you're doing it. Get yourself in a comfortable position. Add in some sexual stimulation. Right before you're about to have an orgasm, you do a very brief amount of the stimulus you're trying to develop a more positive relationship to. And then you either remove that if you can't have an orgasm to it at that exact time, and then you allow yourself to have an orgasm. And slowly what you do over time is you add in more and more of the physical stimulation that you're trying to learn to enjoy more, and you extend how far back you include it into the sequence before the orgasm happens. But essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to pair the experience of the orgasm and the pleasure from it with the caning, more or less. Again, this is a very brief overview. If you want to learn how to do this in detail, there's like other guides you can learn how to do this with, but that's essentially the gist of it, and that will help you like develop a positive relationship to it. However, you do have to be careful because the link to orgasms and physical stimulus can be very intense. So eventually at some point, if you do this in a certain way that I am describing, you can end up just having an orgasm from the stimulation by itself, which may not work in all settings with all forms of stimulation. That's all I will say about that. It can be a double-edged sword. Sometimes you don't always want to have an orgasm to a certain form of stimulation, and then you have to kind of work to decouple the things a little bit. But yeah, it can happen. If you just Google, or not Google, if you Google on my channel, if you go to my channel and search for like guilt or shame, it should pop up. I don't remember the exact title of it off the top of my head, but it's like dealing with guilt and shame, or like overcoming guilt and shame, something along those lines. Have you looked at the Honey Do Me podcast? I mentioned it in a comment, and I'd love to see you as a guest. It would make sense if you don't watch it normally, since they prioritize sex 80% of the time. I have not looked into them yet. I do remember you mentioning it, though. I am definitely open to going on a podcast. I could talk about sex. I'm not like, opposed to that. It might actually be sort of a change of pace if you like, if you don't want to just hear my content in like a different format than usual. Maybe that makes more sense. No one missed a spammer. I was just giving somebody a warning before they entered spamming territory. Oh no, don't worry. It happens to me all the time. I do the same thing and I'm looking for something and I'm like, oh, it was right there the whole time. Damn it. I don't tolerate brats anywhere in any form. I am anti-brat. Absolutely. That's what everyone says about me. Evie Lupine, she hates brats. No, I'm being sarcastic, obviously. Anywho's it. More questions. 10-minute warning, BT dubs. Put in your questions now if I didn't get to them earlier, because when the stream disconnected, I didn't fully disconnect, but it had a blip, and then I lost some of the chat because of my internet connection fritzing out. So if you asked a question in the last hour, there's a good chance that I haven't seen it yet because the chat got nuked because of my internet freaking out for a second for some reason. Not sure why. I have a question. How do you help a new partner with jealousy? They're just getting into E&M. I struggle understanding jealousy to some extent. I've sent resources. Is there anything that you can do? Oh, okay. So I'm assuming this dynamic is like you're polyamorous, you have another partner, you have another new partner, they're new to non-monogamy, and they're dealing with jealousy maybe towards your other existing relationships or just in general. All right. Focus on my face, please. Thank you. Thank you, camera. Maybe I just need to be closer. I don't know. There we go. Jealousy is definitely a tough one. I like some of the resources on jealousy in polyamory. I will now turn to the Holy Bible. And by the Holy Bible, I mean the DBT workbook. Shocked. After we talked about guilt and shame and other things, I didn't bring it out then. It's functionally the same. It's going to be the same section I always turn to whenever I reference it on these streams. Because this is like the one thing in here I think you can kind of do without including a therapist in the process, because I think this is just a good thing to use. All right, I'm going to pop over to that section real quick. Because I do not believe the cards have a section on jealousy. But I believe this does. And this is reality acceptance. I am looking for the next color of tabs, which is not distress tolerance. Ah, here we go. All right, perfect. This is the page I wanted to land on. There we go. All right. All right, so this is a fun little process you can use. All right. There we go. It's probably here. Yes. Okay. Jealousy. I'm just going to read this out, but I'm just showing you it's emotion regulation handout number 13. You can Google this. You'll probably find a free copy of it online. Therapy is expensive. This book is expensive. Use individually with caution. I think this section on understanding emotions is just like helpful for life without necessarily having to include the rest of the therapeutic process of DBT. But this is if you want a clear, succinct way of dealing with feelings and understanding them, this is a section that I turn to a lot because it's very systematized and a lot of people appreciate that. So what it says is, what can justify jealousy? An important and desired relationship or object is in actual danger of being damaged or lost. Someone is threatening to take away an important or desired relationship or object. And those are what can justify a feeling of jealousy. However, in the context of polyamory, where... Did my dog... What are you doing, baby? Why are you so close to the camera? Why are you so close to the camera, huh? You look at me? What did I do? Is it because I tapped this and you think something nice is going to happen? I do not know what she's doing right now, but she's very cute. So we know with polyamory that no one's in danger of being taken away. No one's in danger of being lost because it's polyamory. Everyone's here of their own free will. No one's stealing anyone else. No one's taking away anyone else's time. It's all safe. It's all good. So that means, in that case, that the emotion, though it is valid, is not justified. And when we're dealing with unjustified emotions, this is what we can do. These are the 4 steps that the big Bible, maybe we shouldn't call it that, the DBT book recommends doing. 1, let go of trying to control others. So this means not being willful of the desire to control other people's behavior. It means letting go of the desire to dictate what other people do in their relationships around other people. So that can verbally and internally look like saying to yourself, okay, these are my values. This is what I want from a relationship. I am choosing to be here. I'm choosing to do this. And part of that means that I don't want to control what other people do because I want other people to be able to maximize their happiness with others as well as with myself, so long as my needs are getting met. So I'm going to let go of the urge to control other people because I don't want to be controlled and I don't really want to control others. Number 2 is share what you have with others. So sharing your time, sharing your relationship energy, making room and space for other people when you're polyamorous. And finding fulfillment, I would add with that, finding fulfillment in doing that. Finding a way to be happy about the idea that you're sharing time between partnerships, that you're building a relationship with metamors, that you're allowing other people to explore what they want. Finding fulfillment and joy out of that. Number 3, stop spying and snooping. This is a really, really big problem in polyamory because people get a big confusion between spying and snooping and getting legitimate information for risk assessment and evaluating whether or not they want to be in a certain relationship. So what I would define as the line between this, spying and snooping is like, I don't know, going on somebody's Facebook page on their computer when they're out of the house and seeing who they're messaging on Facebook Messenger, or looking through their text messages when they're not looking at their phone, or even if they don't have their phone locked, like intentionally trying to read text messages over their shoulder, or asking really invasive questions about dates or activities that they're doing with other partners. There's a big difference between curiosity and wanting to know, hey, how'd your date go? How was your scene? Did you have fun? Like in the same way that you would with a friend, and like, what'd you do? How long were you there? Why did it take you so long to get home? Like there is an energy difference and an intention difference between, oh, how'd your date go? Hopefully it went well. And like, why were you gone for so long? On our last date, you spent 2 hours and 42 minutes with me, and then on this day with this person, you spent 3 hours and 51 minutes with them. So therefore, you like them more than me. It's like, ugh, like that's not healthy. Don't do that. And then no avoiding. Take in all information. This one is also hard to do in polyamory because again, people can undershare and they can overshare, and finding the proper amount of sharing is going to be individual. This is sort of finding the medium between the extremes of like, I need 100% play-by-play of every second of everything you did in your day. I need to know every single individual kiss that you have. I need to know how many times they made you orgasm. I need to know how long your scene went for. I want to know exactly the moment you did this, this, and this. That is, I think, going to number 3, going into snooping territory, and is too much information. But a healthy, regular amount of sharing, similar amount that you would with a friend, of like, oh, I'm going on a date with so-and-so. Oh, my girlfriend likes, her favorite color is pink. Oh, they work at this place, and especially when it's permanent relationship information of, okay, we're escalating in this direction. We're going to start doing this kind of sexual activity. I'm going to go out with them on this date on Tuesday. You need to be able to sit with that and hear that information. And then hopefully through that process, when you see that things, and this is a thing that takes time, when you do those things enough, you will see that the world isn't ending. Relationships are not being stolen. If your needs are being met, it's a lot easier to be compersive with these things. And it also teach your brain, okay, what we were afraid of was losing a relationship. We can see that when we do these behaviors, it doesn't happen. And in fact, if we act contrary to these things, if we did spy, if we did snoop, if we did avoid information, if we did try to control others, that actually would be the thing that would cause us to lose relationships. But yeah, that is a complicated one for sure. Jealousy is a big one. I like the idea of someone using my past trauma to break and transform me in ways that I can't fully comprehend. Any way you think I can explore that? That's definitely a big one, David. I think that a lot of people use kink as a way to process their trauma, or they use trauma and experiences therein to come up with intense scene ideas. That totally happens. I think the way that you can explore that is by finding a partner that you trust, working up to that slowly through doing scenes at first that are like very small scenes, totally unrelated, just like normal hodgepodge, run-of-the-mill scenes. And then as you gain comfort and trust with that person, you talk to them about your experiences, you communicate to them about like why this is important to you and why you think that would be like healing or fun or interesting. Make sure they're on board with playing with that kind of trauma, and then slowly incorporate elements of it into other things that you are doing. And then eventually you can work up to just doing scenes that are like closely replicating the trauma. And I'm not going to put a timeline on like when I think this is like safe to do this by, because everyone's different and depends on how often you're playing with the person. And like, if you're spending every weekend together versus like once a month, going to be different scale. But I would say, do at least like a half dozen like regular scenes. And then I would, after that, if you feel really comfortable, if you can communicate with them openly, if they're receptive to it, you talk more about your trauma, you develop a sense that like they're going to respect that, they understand the gravity of what you want to do, and then you incorporate elements of that into your play. So that's probably how I would explore it, but it's definitely, it's a lot to ask of a person. I think it's important to keep in mind. But yeah, especially if it's something that's like really edgy, like, other people also have trauma and other people may not feel comfortable. Like if you're like, okay, when I was 5 years old, I experienced a break-in at my house and it was really scary. I want to do a break-in scene, like an ABDL break-in scene where I like relive that experience as a baby. That's going to be intense. And there's going to be some people that are like, I'm okay maybe doing parts of that, but not everything. Some people are going to be like, absolutely no way, because like I have similar trauma and I don't want to be like the bad guy. So you really, really have to be upfront. If you're getting anywhere near like actual lived experiences, you're informing your partner of what's going on. I know some people are like, you know, my medical information is my own, and like, you know, my personal trauma is like mine to share. And like, yes, I think best practice though for making sure everybody can give informed consent to a scene, which is of vital importance to me. If you can't trust the person you want to play with enough to tell them the background information of the scene you want to do, is it really a good idea to do that scene with them? That would be what I would think about. An ABDL break-in scene. That's what I said. Yes, and sometimes it's also just because. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Yeah, I wouldn't want someone to do it who's not like fully into it. It would be meaningless. Yeah, if you want somebody to share in that experience. All right, I'm going to try to get to at least one more question here. But thank you so much, Sean. Thank you for everyone who is sticking around. I know we've had some connection issues here at the end, and I really appreciate you. Okay, I think I answered the jealousy one. And I think that, again, like, look up DBT resources about jealousy. I like a lot of the stuff that are in, and also Polysecure, too. I think I'd recommend Polysecure for sure, and then DBT stuff about jealousy, because I think those are more, again, systematized ways of thinking about it. And I think having like philosophical conversations about jealousy are fine. You know, some of the chapters and chapters in various polyamory books about jealousy are sort of based not really on like neuroscience, neurobiology, or even like informed psychology. It's just about like the author's experiences, which are valid. But I think it's more helpful, especially if you're like, I don't really get jealousy, to hear about it from a more scientific perspective, maybe to start with. Yeah, you definitely don't want to cause fight and flight responses in people, especially without, you know, their consent ahead of time. All right. Who will be the last question? Yes, the title is probably, yes, that's what I said. Overcoming guilt and shame about your kink, sexuality, and beyond. Yes, that is the video I was talking about. The gospel according to DBT. Thanks be Marshall Linehan, exactly. How to level up pain tolerance? Going slowly over time, gradually increasing stimulation, and your body will habituate to it in the same way that, like, you know, when you work out, the first couple times you work out, you get really, really terrible post-exercise muscle soreness. And you're like, holy fuck, has anyone work out? I'm so sore I can barely move. And then you go again, and you go again, and you go again. And then after a couple more times, then you're less sore. And then you're progressively less sore. And then eventually you can work out at like an even higher intensity than you were doing before, but you don't get sore anymore. Same thing. Your body conditions itself, because what your body is sending pain signals out for is warning, danger happening. Be aware of the danger, please. What's going on? And then when your body realizes, okay, this is routine, this is a regular occurrence, this is not something above and beyond what we're dealing with on a regular basis, we don't have to send out quite so many pain signals, we don't have to panic quite so hard. We're going to send out some still, but we don't have to get attention quite so hard as we did the first dozen times, because it just becomes the normal. And essentially, that's what you got to do. Just get your body used to the stimulation. So regular play, even lighter scenes, is fine. How did you get the confidence to start this channel? I would like to start my own. I didn't have any confidence is the thing. Well, you know, I didn't think it was going to be like this many people watching me. I thought it was going to be like, I started YouTube because I had an Instagram account, and you can't post videos to Instagram, at least not at that time. And I wanted to make more kinds of content, and I wanted to share what I was learning and exploring in a format that was not just like Instagram posts. And you can watch my like old videos. I was like not that confident. I did not know how to deliver to a camera. I barely do now, to be honest with you. And now I've just been doing it for so long that I'm just like, fuck it, you know, whatever. The confidence I get in any respect for pretty much anything is my self-knowledge that I am who I am. And I've always been a freak weirdo, and that's like not ever really going to change. And, you know, can't really help it. And I think that I get a lot of out of helping people, and whatever fear I might experience of, you know, oh my God, what if one day, like, Moist Critical makes a reaction video to my content and like 1 million people think that I'm a freak. Oh, well, what else was new? Who cares? It was more important that I help people and get some good information out there than anything else. Yeah, it was confidence was earned over time, just with like getting more experience and knowledge and knowing that I was helping people with the information I was providing, more or less. But it's definitely not an overnight thing. I'm not I didn't start out confident. You know, I was not a confident child. I was not, you know, there are definitely some people who are YouTubers where they were always like the jokester, class clown, always had the spotlight on them, and I was definitely not that person. Oh, you do wonderful, and I adore your voice. First time catching a live stream. Thank you, Ems. I appreciate that. Thank you. Any scene ideas for pups, like human pups, I'm going to assume. I have a bunch of older videos about this. My favorite scenes to do as a pet player are like Easter egg hunt type things where you're like doing like nose work, where you're like trying to find something in a space. You know, playing fetch, always a classic. You doing anything in a cage, always fun. If you like heavy bondage, it's fun to mix that with puppy play. You know, anything with like a squeaky toy, just like generally using different kinds of pet toys. Trick training, really rewarding, really fun. Yeah. Most of my pet play, though, is not like individual scenes of like doing activities. It's like just kind of being a puppy a little bit all of the time. And like sitting in a dog bed and like wanting to sit on the floor and like barking in response to stuff. Like it's less so like concentrated moments of intentionally being a pet that does exist. Like, you know, sometimes my partner will be like eating a treat or a snack or something, and then they'll like have me kneel for them, and I'll be like, or I'll start kneeling because I'll be like, I want mango. Can I have mango, please? And I'll just like communicate with my eyes that I would like some mango, please. And then I go, and then if they decide they want to give me a piece of mango or not, I have to go, and then I have to tear it off. Like, sometimes I get mango. Does that count as a scene? I don't know. But like that kind of thing is like mostly what I end up doing. It's less so concentrated scenes of like intentional pet play. Yeah. Thank you so much for what you do. I look forward to your videos every week. Thank you. Yeah. Been watching your videos for years. First time in the live chat. Thank you, Leo. Thanks for being here. Glad I could get your question here at the very end because we are about to wrap up. But yeah, I think what's most rewarding about pet play personally is not the like, you know, people like moshes, like going to big events with other puppies. I am a lap dog. I'm a snoozy, cuddly pupper. My favorite activities to do in pet play are like being in bondage and then like sleeping in a pet bed, or like, you know, being put in a cage when my partner has like a dog, like one of those videos you put on for a dog when you like leave them home alone, like one of those like calming separation anxiety videos for dogs. Like they put one of those on. Those are what's fun for me. Yeah, getting brave with barking is just, it's a thing. I've just been doing it for so long with my partners at this point that it's natural for me. Again, I've always been a freak weirdo, so like, I'm not saying I barked at other people in middle school because I did not do that, but earlier in my life when I was a child, like when I was like in elementary school, I definitely did do a lot of imagination play about being an animal, and so like I kind of already had practice doing it. It wasn't that off the wall, but doing it in a safe space around other pets where other people are already doing it, good way to do it. Doing it alone in the shower, to yourself in a mirror, even just doing it into a pillow where definitely no one can hear you, because just going like that can just help. I sort of just developed like a call and response with one of my partners where like they would bark at something, that I would bark back. Or they don't bark because they're not a dog, but they're another kind of animal. And they make their animal noise, and then I make my animal noise back, and it's a little like echolocation, like call back and forth, call and response, which I think is fun. And that also helped me feel more confident doing it again too. Because I haven't done that with like every partner ever. Kind of comes and goes how comfortable people are with that. Pet play often seems to have kitten puppies, which is non-human baby play. Oh, absolutely, for sure. I wouldn't say that I'm like a baby animal. Like I don't like my headspace is not very baby animal. But definitely there are people who play it that way for sure. I like drinking Monster Ultra Zero out of a dog bowl. Monster Ultra Zero is like the monster. There's no monster for me but Monster Ultra Zero. Bringing back memories of working the weird graveyard shift at 4 a.m. Good times. Eating stuff out of a dog bowl is always a good place to start too. Because even if you don't want to eat with your face, you can have it in a dog bowl on a table and like work your way up to like having it on the floor. Yeah. Barking is very cute. It is fun. And I like discovering what your own bark sounds like is I think like a fun experience. Like are you like a deep growly bark? Are you like security alert dog? Are you like cutesy little dog? Are you somewhere in between? Are you like a corgi and your barks like pierce the air with their level of sound? Like yeah. I don't even know how to do it. Like, it's weird doing it like by myself when I'm not like around a person I would normally bark around. Like, it feels like trying to put on an accent when I'm like not speaking that language. Like, I'm like, how do I do that? I guess mine's like more like a like so I don't know if that makes sense. Like, sort of in that ballpark somewhere in there. And then like every other spectrum of random animal noises. Oh, I would never record it and listen back to it. I mean, you can do that. That sounds terrifying to me. would never want to judge my own barking in such a way. Because I don't care about sounding like accurate as an animal. Like, I don't care if my barks sound like a real dog or not. Like, maybe that matters to some people. I don't care. Because I'm also kind of like I'm doing like 3 different kinds of role play at once in my brain. So it's like, yes, I'm a puppy, but also I'm kind of like a anime puppy girl maid thing, so like the accuracy, like, you know, who cares? Let go of that a long time ago. Do you have any videos discussing DBT stuff in more detail? I'd love to hear your perspective. I don't have any videos about it in detail. I have videos where I reference tools from it. When I talk about, usually it's like emotions, like guilt, shame, jealousy. Some of the videos where I've talked about like discussing like difficult things with your partner, I've incorporated like Dear Man type skills or like stuff like that. I think is where I've talked about it for sure. Yeah, I'm trying my best. Yeah. It's hard to replicate it, but somewhere in that ballpark, as I said. Anyhow, I'm gonna go, y'all. I'm gonna go finish my dinner. Have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. Drink some water. If it's gonna be sunny, put on some sunscreen. I really should wear sunscreen all the time, but especially if it's gonna be hot outside on top. Look at that UV index. Put on some sunscreen, folks. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you all again very, very soon. Thank you. All right. Bambini, do you want to come say hello? Do you want to come say hello to people? Do you want to come say hello? Come on. Yeah. Come here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Woo, 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 woo. The people demand to see their queen. Look at you, honey. You're so pretty. You're so pretty. She has a purple tail. I don't know if people can always like tell that when I'm streaming. Look at that. We go, baby. We are a good baby, yeah. Are you ready for dinner time? I bet you are, honey. It's almost time for dinner, huh? Okay, good night. All right, bye. Good night.